Howdy and welcome to the show. I've been working on a portable Raspberry Pi 2 for a couple of weeks, and I've also starting to put together another video on a Raspberry 2 media center. So those will be ready in the next couple of videos. But as I was working on the portable Raspberry Pi 2, been talking about batteries and charging technologies and so on. And one of the batteries that I was looking at was an 18650. So I have an 18650 battery charger that came with the batteries, and because the charging of lithium-ion batteries is quite specific, I thought I'd crack this battery charger open and actually take a look on how it's doing the charging of 18650 batteries. So let's take a look inside this one. Okay, so I've just popped the two screws out of the back of this unit, and as you can see on the back of the unit it actually says 240 volt input, DC 4.2 volt output to charge the standard 3.7 volt lithium 18650 batteries. So charging a 3.7 volt lithium battery, the peak voltage that you'll charge it at is 4.2 volts, and that's why this is rated at 4.2 volts. Okay, so let's just take a look inside. Alright, so first things first, the unit on top here is obviously a transformer, and this little unit beside it, there we go. So this is the transformer, and this is actually a 400 volt. I've been able to find a little bit of data on the SW13003 transistor, and this particular transistor here is a 400 volt 1.5 amp NPN transistor. This will be the transformer taking the 240 volts in, little capacitors and through-hole components, little resistors, some diodes, etc. The only other thing that I can see, so we've got some NPN standard transistors there, the LED, so this is the LED that pokes through the front of the unit to be able to indicate that the power is going through and whether or not the charge is complete. So the only other integrated circuit that I could actually find in here is actually this one here, and it's actually an optocoupler. So I was able to find a bit of a data sheet on that one. I'll just see whether or not I can get that in focus. Anyway, it is a JC817 Kento, and I was able to find a little bit of information on that one to know that it's an optocoupler. So apart from the standard components that are on this board, a few transistors, resistors, a couple of diodes, the main transformer, the power transistor there, etc., etc. This really doesn't suggest to me that there is the proper charging cycle, and I'll pop the proper charging cycle up on the screen. So there's a proper charging cycle to be able to charge 18650 or lithium-ion batteries, and this doesn't look like it's doing it. So that actually holds true to what I was able to measure with the multimeter. I put the multimeter on the terminal once this was powered up, and it was reading at 3.7 volts. A few either side of 3.7, but not much. 3.7 volt reading out of that unit, and it didn't change. It didn't change over time. It didn't ramp up. There was just simply a constant voltage, and the voltage wasn't 4.2 as you would expect to charge something like an 18650 lithium battery. So although that charger would put some juice back into those batteries, it is not charging them properly, and it is not charging them to the correct, it's not using the correct charging methodology for that kind of battery. Now that basically means that when you don't charge a lithium battery using the proper charging cycle, it will still take some charge, but it will not hold anywhere near as much charge as what it could potentially get. You might be getting 60% out of the actual battery as opposed to 80, 85, 90 and so on. It usually does mean that they last a little bit longer because you're reducing the cycle, or reducing the amount of charge that you're putting into the battery. Doesn't stress the battery as much, and as a result they can last longer on the shelf. But for the most part, when you're using these, you want close to as much capacity as you can get out of it, and that cheap little charger that it came with is not going to do the job. Just in regards to charging 18650 batteries, if you are using them, I'll put up a couple of chargers, or at least one that I'm familiar with. I'll put that up on the screen now. They are a very good charger for the 18650 batteries. Nice and safe, as well as charging them properly from what I've been able to determine. So if you are going to look at using these, or you've already got some of these and you're after a good charger, yeah, I'll pop a couple of ideas up on the screen. So thanks very much for joining me and watching the show. Subscribers are always welcome, so feel free to subscribe, that would be great. And I hope you'll join me again next week.